Call to order the regular board meeting of August 21st at 7 p.m. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Clerk Berry, please call the roll.
Supervisor Echevetti.
Here.
Treasurer LaFata.
Here.
Trustee Anderson.
Here.
Trustee Joseph.
Here.
Trustee Vosper. Here. Clerk Berry is here. Trustee Demink is absent.
Motion to excuse Trustee Demink.
Support.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? He is excused. He did call me and let me know that he would not be here tonight. Item 4, department reports.
Oop. Microphone was stolen.
Someone stole our mic.
Hang tight.
It's usually on the first and third days.
Testing.
One item to report on from Human Resources. Back in February of this year, I understand that the township put a request for proposal out or a request for information out looking for outside labor counsel. We went through those RFPs and those responses, conducted interviews of 4 of the 12 firms that bid on the work, and decided to use Schiffman Law as the attorney for outside labor counsel for the township. The arrangement with them will be on an as-needed hourly rate basis. We're going to try to minimize the use there of outside counsel, but when we do have a need, we'll be moving forward using Schiffman Law. Their offices are out in Birmingham. They have 2 main attorneys that will be working with, Howard Schiffman and Brandon Soulier. So those are the 2 folks we'll be working with. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer those for you.
Any questions for Mr. Herpich?
Yeah, mine is more of a procedural question, Mr. Herpich. I'm not sure if you can answer this, or Mr. Supervisor. This is not an issue that requires board approval. This isn't something that you're asking the board to approve. You're simply stating that for informational purposes, this is the procedure moving forward. And if you could maybe speak to the expense. Residents, I'm sure, have become quite familiar with House Counsel, who attends every board meeting, and why his stewardship of this particular legal need is seen as we need an additional. So if you could maybe speak to that, or Mr. Herbert speak to that, and what were the hours, anticipated hours, billable hours, and the expense to the residents for this, and what its purpose is.
So you want to speak to the cost? The hourly rate quoted by Schiffman Law was $135 an hour, which was the second lowest per hour rate. Schiffman Law has agreed to hold that rate till December 31st of 2020, so you've got about a little over 3 years where they're not going to guarantee no rate increases for that period of time. The anticipated, number of hours that we're going to utilize is going to be, I think it's going to be tough to guesstimate at this point. We're going to try to minimize that as much as possible, but, again, at the county, we had a budget of $30,000 for outside counsel, and we generally didn't spend that much, so I would expect it to be half that or maybe even a little bit less. I really don't know right now precisely how many hours, but we're going to minimize that as much as possible.
Thank you.
The process I can speak to a little bit. This is a professional service consultant, and they are exempt from the purchasing policy. So, but out of respect, I wanted to at least bring it to the board, and I appreciated Mr. Herpich coming up and explaining what the process was. Specifically, this is going to be used for just labor-related legal costs. Myself, Clerk Berry, and Treasurer LaFata were involved with this every step of the way, and that's where we landed.
Just a quick follow-up.
Sure.
I think this, if 135 was the second lowest, I think I might know the lowest, which is probably close to half, which is our current council. And the thought process here is that the limited number of hours needed for a very highly specialized portion as we go into contract negotiations and so forth was the thought behind this expense? Is that a safe assumption?
Yep, that's pretty much, this started back in February, prior to Mr. Herpich coming on board. I would have expected a whole lot more use out of a labor law specific law firm, although now moving forward I'm expecting it to be very limited, and I think it is a best practice to have, although I'm extremely happy with our current counsel, I think it's very good practice to have separate counsel for labor related issues versus general counsel. And Mr. Siebert has been involved in discussions every step of the way.
Very good, thank you.
Any
Thank you,
further
Mr. Herpich.
follow-up discussion to Mr. Herpich?
Thank you.
Item 5 is the consent agenda. All items under the consent agenda are considered routine by the board and will be enacted in one motion. There's no separate discussion of these items. If discussion of any item is required by a board member, it will be removed from the consent agenda and considered separately. Public comments on the consent agenda are permitted. The consent agenda tonight includes approval of the agenda, approval of the minutes of the July 24th board meeting, and approval of the payment of bills as submitted by the Finance Department. Approval of the minutes of the August 7th, 2017 board meeting.
Mr. Supervisor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda with one change to the agenda tonight, and that is the removal of item 6K.
Motion by Clerk Barry to approve the consent agenda with the removal of item 6K.
Support.
Support by Trustee Vosberg. Discussion. Clerk Barry, please call the roll.
Clerk Barry, aye. Trustee Vosberg.
Aye.
Trustee Anderson.
Aye.
Trustee Joseph.
Aye.
Treasurer LaFata. Aye. Supervisor Akavetti.
Aye. Motion passes. Item number 6 is the regular agenda. 6A, consider the recommendation from the Planning Commission to approve Vince Galati for the proposed rezoning of parcel 0929-201-008 from RM2 multifamily residential to R1B single-family residential. Do I have a motion?
Motion to consider the recommendation from the Planning Commission as stated.
Motion by Clerk Barry.
Support?
Support by Trustee Joseph. Mr. Palin is here with our Community Development Department. If anyone has any specific questions. Maybe a very quick location in.
Yeah, this is at the corner of Cotton and Donner. It's a multifamily piece that the owner was looking to do single-family housing. He wanted an 80-foot lot, which didn't meet the frontage requirements for multifamily, so he applied for the downzoning to get 4 lots out of it and do single-family homes. So, and that is consistent with surrounding zoning and land uses and the master plan. So,
Thank you. Motion by Clerk Barry, support by Trustee Joseph. Trustee Vosberg.
What corner is that?
it would be the northeast, I guess. It's kind of on an angle, but it's the north corner. So it's right behind Stonehenge.
East side, so it's really, behind it, so it's not exactly at the corner.
South of Stonehenge, but it is right on the corner of the triangle piece.
East?
Yes.
I think of it as the northwest. If it's the vacant parcel?
Yes,
Because there's,
correct.
where I think of northeast,
Yeah.
there's a house already sitting at
Right,
that corner.
yeah.
So it's across the street.
Yeah.
Yeah, the street curve.
Yeah,
so
Cotton
I see
kind of
what you're
runs,
saying.
yeah.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Supervisor.
Mr. Supervisor, this, if I may,
Trustee Joseph.
this came to the Planning Commission. We had some discussion about this. There's been a lot of activity on Cotton and a lot of requests for different properties there. And there's been a pretty good turnout from the residents who are concerned about Donner and Cotton in particular, this piece. This was seen as something that was really advantageous to the residents because the previous request had involved multifamily residential And the biggest project that I recall coming to the Planning Commission was an apartment complex, small apartment rentals. In this particular case, the developer has the opportunity to put in multifamily residential with some rental property and has decided to actually go the other direction, larger lots with owners, and the residents that came forward were very favorable of this rezoning. And I think it's a good move, especially for anybody that experiences traffic on Cotton and Donner. So it's a nice addition in that space. Thank you.
Thank you. Clerk Barry?
Mr. Supervisor, I'd like to revise my motion to approve rezoning number 344, to approve Vince Galati for the proposed rezoning of parcel number 09-29-201-008 from RM2 multifamily residential to R1B single-family residential.
Continued support?
Revised motion by Clerk Barry, continued support by Trustee Joseph. Please call the roll.
Clerk Barry, aye. Trustee Joseph.
Aye.
Trustee Anderson.
Aye.
Trustee Vosberg.
Aye.
Treasurer LaFata.
Aye.
Supervisor Akavetti.
Aye. Motion passes. Hang tight, Jonathan. 6B, approve the recommendation from the Planning Commission to approve Meyer Corporation for the proposed rezoning of parcel 09-17351-009 from C2 Planned Shopping Center to C3 General Commercial.
Mr. Supervisor, I'd like to make a motion to consider the recommendation from the Planning Commission to approve Meyer Corporation for the proposed rezoning as stated.
Support?
Motion by Clerk Barry, support by Trustee Joseph. Once again, a quick review
Yes.
would be good.
This one was in front of us because Meyer is looking in the future to do a pharmacy drive-through. We do not currently permit a drive-through in the C2 district. We do in C3, so that was the purpose behind that. Really, Meyer is one of the original developments at that intersection, and everything else since then has either been was previously C3 commercial or has recently come in for C3 commercial, and that's the last piece at that intersection that's not. So it's fairly consistent with everything in that area. So the Planning Commission is recommending approval.
Discussion? You did a good job with your packet. A motion by Clerk Barry to approve the recommendation from the Planning Commission to approve the Meyer Corporation for the proposed rezoning of parcel 09-17351-009 from C2 Planned Shopping Center to C3 General Government, support by Trustee Joseph.
Mr. Supervisor, I'd like to amend my motion to approve the recommendation from the Planning Commission for the proposed rezoning of the parcel number 09-17351-009 from C2 Planned Shopping Center to C3 General Commercial.
Continued support?
Motion by Clerk Barry, continued support by Trustee Joseph. Please call the roll.
Clerk Barry, aye. Trustee Joseph.
Aye.
Trustee Anderson.
Aye.
Trustee Vosberg.
Aye.
Treasurer LaFata.
Aye.
Supervisor Akavetti.
Aye. Item 6C, adoption of an amendment to the Chesterfield Township zoning ordinance, Chapter 76, zoning, Article 7, site plan review requirements and procedures, Section 76-253A6. I'll make a motion to approve.
Support?
Motion by Supervisor Akavetti, support by Trustee Joseph. And Mr. Palin is here. Just a quick overview of this ordinance amendment.
Yes, this amendment is, we currently have language in the ordinance that is a similar thing. These items still go in front of the Planning Commission, administrative approvals. I don't think when that ordinance was originally written, that was the intent. So basically what happens now, someone comes in with a minor proposal, goes in front of the Planning Commission, it's then reviewed, and they either approve or send it back to submit for full site plan. Really, at that point, you're not saving them any time. They're still going through the legwork of, getting a minor approval done. What this amendment does is creates a committee, takes it out of going in front of the Planning Commission, can have different members depending on what the area of expertise is that would be assigned by Supervisor Akavetti. At that point, what we're really doing is saving anywhere from 2 to 6 weeks in the process. The couple of main points on that are they're for minor changes only, with the different departments being appointed by the supervisor. You kind of have your checks and balances there, whether it be zoning ordinance standards, building codes, engineering, whatever it may be. And then the chairman of the planning commission is a mandatory member. So essentially the supervisor and the planning commission chairman would be the determining factors on whether a project is minor or not. We see these all the time, and it would be a time saver for the developers coming in for unnecessary things to go in front of the planning commission.
Discussion? Trustee Joseph.
Mr. Supervisor, I just would like to commend you for this modification. This is something that the Planning Commission talked a lot about, and I think Mr. Palin talks about these are really minor amendments to very complicated plans sometimes, and the bureaucratic merry-go-round that some of these developers find themselves on, because some of these plans not only cross paths with Planning Commission, which I am the liaison, but also find themselves on Trustee Anderson's committee, which is ZBA. And if you don't appear in the right order, one body may kick it back to the other body, and when you have 1 or 2 meetings a month, you could seriously trap very worthwhile projects in delays that are completely unnecessary because the requests are so minor. But statutorily, and the way our ordinances are written, it's the protocol it must follow. So to have experts on that panel, and Chairman Miller assured the panel as a participatory member, a statutory member of that committee, if he believes an issue should be heard by the full Planning Commission, he has the ability at that point. And I think Planning Commission members were satisfied that we wouldn't just be, expediting things that were improper. This was a real time saver for developers and a very smart ordinance change. So this was one of your projects that you've been very attentive to, and we've been told on planning to look for at least an ordinance per month going in the right direction. This goes in the right direction, so thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Vosberg.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. Thank you to the Planning Commission. I read the minutes and looked like it had thorough discussion, and I appreciate that it moved forward. We need to do more of these types of things. Thank you for bringing this forward to us so that we can have easier to develop, easier to build, easier to construct in this area. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate the Planning Commission's work and the work of the board. The concept here was laid out pretty good by Trustee Joseph, and it does take some time to change ordinances, and I think we found the best practice of getting rid of some of the bureaucratic red tape for minor projects while still protecting our community, and I think this is a very important step in that direction. Motion by Supervisor Accavetti, support by Trustee Joseph, to adopt amendment to the Chesterfield Township zoning ordinance, Chapter 76, Article 7, Site Plan Review Requirements and Procedures, Section 76-253A6. Clerk Barry, please call the roll.
Supervisor Accavetti.
Aye.
Trustee Joseph.
Aye.
Trustee Anderson.
Aye.
Trustee Vosberg.
Aye.
Treasurer LaFata.
Aye.
Clerk Barry, aye.
Motion passes. Item 6D, adoption of an amendment to the Chesterfield Township zoning ordinance, Chapter 76 zoning, Article 9, agricultural and residential districts, Section 76-331A. I'll make a motion to approve as stated.
Support.
Motion by Supervisor Accavetti, support by Clerk Barry. Discussion.
Okay, this one was a priority for me when I started here with the township. I'm sure that Trustee Joseph and Trustee Anderson can attest on ZBA that a large amount of the variance requests are for garages and pole barns and the like. So that's a major sign to me that something needed to change. I think a lot of the surrounding communities have seen that as well. So basically what this is doing is taking creating a sliding scale for the size of your parcel is what the size of your accessory structure is. So it's currently written, just to give you an example, if you have 1 acre or just under 5 acres, you're permitted the same size accessory structure. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So the idea here is you creating multiple, the range now goes to 20,000 square feet or less, 20,000 square feet to 1 acre, 1 acre to 2 acres, 2 acres to 3 acres, 3 to 5, and then 5 acres or larger is now the scale, and depending on the size. So we now allow 3,000 square feet accessory structures for 5 acres or more, which is, more consistent with what we see in surrounding communities. Every parcel would be permitted the 920 square foot garage, either attached or detached, which we currently allow. And everything else really stays the same in that regard, such as height, and the setbacks aren't changing. The other major change to this was giving us a mechanism for gazebos and similar structures. Currently, we don't have anything in place, and that's very common now, whether you go to Home Depot and buy one that you can pop up, or if you want to build your own. We were getting those questions a lot and really didn't have an answer. So what this does is allows that up to 200 square feet. And the reason that number was picked is because, number one, we did a little bit of shopping to see what the consistent number was with the portable ones, as well as the building codes don't require a building permit, just a zoning compliance, but not a building permit for under 200 square feet. So that's the rationale behind that number. And along that same rationale, we moved the size of the sheds permitted from 120 square feet to 200 square feet for that same reason. Other than that, everything else is generally consistent. The wording may have changed a little bit to make it more clear, or fall in line with the other changes, but that's the gist of it.
Board Trustee Glassberg.
Thank you. Again, thank you for bringing this forward. I think it makes sense. So just so I understand, we have this chart in here that shows the various sizes as you described. So they would just, if somebody wants to build something like that, they can just go to the building department, get their permit, and assuming that the layout and everything is approved, they don't have to go and get a zoning variance or anything like
Correct.
that. Is that correct? Thank you.
Similar to the last one, I appreciate the Planning Commission's work on this. It was an issue that I saw early on. It seemed like there was a lot of residents wanting this type of use, whether it be a gazebo or an out structure, and I just asked the question, do we have a best practice in place, and is there any updating that needs to be done? And I think you found a good solution here. Any further board comment or comment from the public? Motion by Supervisor Accavetti, support by Clerk Berry, for the adoption of an amendment to the Chesterfield Township zoning ordinance, Chapter 76, zoning, Article 9, agricultural and residential districts, Section 76-331A. Clerk Berry, please call the roll.
Supervisor Accavetti.
Aye.
Clerk Berry, aye. Trustee Anderson.
Aye.
Trustee Joseph.
Aye.
Trustee Vosberg.
Aye.
Treasurer LaFata.
Aye.
Motion passes. 6E, approve a request by the supervisor to execute all necessary documents to vacate easements for the proposed Story Point development project. I'll make a motion to approve as stated.
Support?
Motion by Supervisor Accavetti, support by Trustee Joseph. It was detailed in your board packet. Is a new development, Story Point development. It's a senior housing community going in on Gratiot. There's some existing legacy easements that need to be vacated, and the process is we have to go to the board to vacate those easements. Discussion? Treasurer LaFata.
Is there any cost to the township at all for transferring these easements to the Story Point project?
They'll be processing them themselves. They will not be.
Okay.
Trustee Joseph, or Trustee Glassberg.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. Does this parcel, is this adjacent to existing developed property?
Yes.
And will there be a separate entrance off from Gratiot to this property, or can they share?
There will be a
Across-
separate, that's a little different issue. When it,
I understand it's
the
not
site
part of this
plan, but
menu. I'm just-
there is
our
a separate,
agenda-
there's an entrance into this Story Point development off of Gratiot. And it's-
Currently?
No, it's vacant property right now.
There will be? Okay, and I realize I would like at some point for us to have a discussion on future development, sharing driveway or allowing for access.
Cross access?
Cross access, like we have in some of our property.
Mr.
Some of our
Taylor?
developments already have.
Yes, currently they have a boulevard entrance off of Gratiot, and they do have a access to the Gordons and ABC to the south. That's going to be for emergency vehicles only. There was discussion on the cross-access, and the issue there was there was a residential area for seniors, so they didn't want traffic from the Target Center and everything else, which does have access cutting through there. So they did put the access in, and in the future, if that use ever changed or if it was deemed necessary, but it is there, but gated for emergency vehicles.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Any further comments from the board? Motion by Supervisor Acovetti, support by Trustee Joseph, to approve the request by the supervisor to execute all necessary documents to vacate easements for the proposed Story Point development project. Clerk Barry, please call the roll.
Supervisor Acovetti.
Aye.
Trustee Joseph.
Aye.
Trustee Anderson.
Aye.
Trustee Vosberg.
Aye.
Treasurer LaFata.
Aye.
Clerk Barry, aye.
Motion passes. 6F, approve a request by the supervisor to execute a sanitary sewer connection and service agreement between Chesterfield Township and Lenox Township for the Pilot Travel Center Development Project.
Mr. Supervisor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the request to execute a sanitary sewer connection and service agreement between Chesterfield Township and Lenox Township.
Motion by Clerk Barry,
Support.
support by Trustee Joseph. Discussion. Clerk Barry, please call the roll.
Clerk Barry, aye. Trustee Joseph.
Aye.
Trustee Anderson.
Aye.
Trustee Vosberg.
Aye.
Treasurer LaFata.
Aye.
Supervisor Acovetti.
Aye. Motion passes. 6G, approve a request by the Department of Public Works for the purchase of a 2012 VACCON sewer cleaning truck from the Clinton Township Water and Sewer Department for a cost of $80,000. I'll make a motion to approve as stated.
Support.
Motion by Supervisor Acovetti, support by Clerk Barry. Assistant Director Johnson is here.
Any questions I can answer, or I can give some comments?
Your packet was pretty thorough, the information that you provided. Clinton Township did approve this item a week ago from tonight from their board to sell it directly to us instead of placing it through their normal disposal process. Treasurer LaFata.
How much do you think you're going to reduce the contractual services budget this year by having that piece of equipment?
Well, I'm not sure. Like, for an example, we did borrow New Baltimore, or at Baltimore. We hired somebody this past year to clean out Harbor Drive, 300 feet of water, our sewer main. Cost us about $523. And that was a couple-hour job. So in the future for that, any kind of emergencies like that we could have, it could save us substantially. Currently what we're not doing, I'm probably getting from your question, I apologize, but what we need to start doing on our end, we got a quote from Doge to clean our sanitary sewer lift stations. We have 7 of them to get the grease out. They quoted us at $14,000 to do that. We wanted to start implementing that this year or next year, so I guess to answer your question, we'd be reducing it by about $14,000 a year, because we want to start implementing that.
I think we put more in there, excuse me, for contracting Deutsche every year than $14,000.
Well, Doge is normally the company that does our sanitary sewer cleaning and TVing program. They're usually contracted every other year or so. I think they've done it the past 2 times, I believe, maybe 3. I apologize, I don't remember. There was another company prior to that.
I'm just thinking after we spent about $400,000 a year over the last 2 years having all our sewers cleaned, that it would be slow recouping the investment, that's all.
Understood.
Any further board comment? This is a Trustee Vosberg.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. So everything in this vehicle has what we need in it compared to the original request for proposals. That wasn't there a spec sheet for if we bought new, what we were looking for?
Yeah, well, essentially, if we were to buy this truck new, it would cost us roughly $350,000. So buying it from them used, it would be, it's obviously 80. I do have 3 pages of maintenance reports to show that it's been in great condition. They've taken great care of it since they've had it in their possession. It does have everything we need. One of the great things we like about it is the fact that it has hydro excavating, which means we can take a pipe about 18 inches in diameter. We can suck the dirt out of it behind a stop box, is where you turn the water on and off in front of a house, and we can change a stop box out with an 18-inch hole, as opposed to getting our backhoe out there and digging a 4-foot by 4-foot hole and having someone's yard look like a mess for a week or 2. And plus, we're not driving our backhoe halfway across the township. We can just drive this over, get this done in about half the time, and it saves residents from having a messy yard for a substantial amount of time.
Sure, so, this was even more than what you were looking for if you bought new, are you saying?
If it would have bought new, it would have been the exact same thing, only it'd be new.
So this vehicle,
This
this
does the job.
truck used will do everything you were looking for if
Correct.
you bought new? That's what I
Correct.
wanted.
Oh, I'm
I just
sorry,
wanna make-
correct.
We're not settling for something
No.
less.
No.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Clerk Mary.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. You said you have quite a bit of maintenance history on this vehicle. I imagine those are probably invoices and things like that, or are they just a list?
Yeah, right now, just an Excel spreadsheet of the work that was done by their maintenance. I'm sure if I would ask, they could give me the invoices, but it does have the costs involved. It does have all that on there. I could show that to you guys if you'd like.
And that was my question, is what do you
Absolutely.
anticipate the maintenance costs being on this particular piece of equipment, this vehicle?
Right now, it'd be minimal, like a normal wear and tear of a normal truck. Unless one of the major components goes, then it could be a substantial cost, Obviously, it sucks a lot of grease or debris out of the sanitary sewer, so the fan or something like that could get rather expensive, but the replacement of that would not be, it could be every, 6 to 10 years. It wouldn't be like an every annual thing.
Okay, so annual cost would just be a standard vehicle?
Yeah.
There's nothing special with this particular vehicle?
No, it's just
that-
making sure it's greased and properly maintained. It should run and function just fine as long as we stay on top of it, which we absolutely plan on doing.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
This is a very specialized piece of equipment that I was kind of shocked that the township didn't already have. With our couple hundred miles of sewer main and the hydro excavation capabilities, DPW, the size of the assets that we need to maintain, I was just shocked that we didn't already have this. And when this opportunity came across from Clinton Township, their community needs a bigger unit and something that does a little more, but I think this would be the perfect addition to
Yes.
help maintain our entire systems.
Yep, and we actually had one back from when I was here, I started in 99, we had one until about 2003 or 4, and then we sold it because it wasn't worth repairing, and then we just haven't had one since, so we're excited to have one again.
One thing that I would like you to look into, if this does get approved tonight, is the amount of training and if we need qualified operators to run the hydro excavation piece of this.
Yes, I believe Don, who unfortunately couldn't be here tonight, he's looking into that as we speak, so we'll definitely have answers for you on that.
Thank you. Any further comments from the board?
Just
Trustee
one.
Joseph.
And I think Mr. LaFata may remember some of these discussions. This was a major line item in our SAW grant, so we spent a lot of money basically paying for this service. We borrowed equipment, and then we contracted out this service. For some reason, I remember the total being close to $500,000 between the two, the contracting and the question was asked by water and sewer rate members at that time, why don't we own this? Why don't we? It was my understanding that the concern was the cost of maintenance, and the concern for the price of the equipment was so astronomical that it just, so is that changed because we're in an opportunity to purchase one in a real unique situation where Clinton Township is sort of upgrading and we kind of, get this very unique opportunity to buy relatively new equipment? Is that the reason there's kind of been a bit of a change in DPW?
No, I feel like if we were to do the same extensive cleaning as Dosh services we're doing, it would be a lot costlier in terms, because they're doing it on a more regular basis. I don't believe we would, unless I guess things change, we don't plan on cleaning sanitary sewers like every single day for the entire year. So I mean, if we were doing it that often,
I see.
I believe it'd be more costly. We're doing it more in terms of emergency purposes. If sewer plugs up, we have a better chance to get it cleaned. If there's any kind of debris in the sewer, we can suck it out as opposed to just breaking it up. We can actually should pull it out and keep the sewer line, clean.
So if I understand it right, the argument then was we had so much volume, so much work, purchasing a piece of equipment would be too taxing.
Right.
On the equipment, we would have, it would break down faster, and then, it was cheaper to contract that out. In this case,
Right.
the use and the plan for use makes this a great piece of equipment to sort of incorporate in the arsenal, if you will.
Correct.
Very good. Thank you.
Maybe if I could just expand on that a little bit. There are more specialized pieces of equipment that I do not believe our community should own. So this piece will actually hydro excavate, it will suck out the grease traps and the obstructions that you have. Some of the other pieces of equipment that some of the vendors have actually will run through and grout inside of the pipe. They will run through and they'll TV and see where the problems are. This piece is going to give us a whole lot better chance to maintain our system and to catch problems when they're small before they get big. So some of those outside vendors might actually see that number not change that much depending on what kind of issues that we find with this. But I think it's a very, very valuable piece. It is specialized and it's something that we need, but there's other more specialized pieces of equipment that I wouldn't advocate our DPW buying. And those are those internal grouting ones. Those are the an entire TV system and the different kind of cleaning systems that they have.
If I could just make sure the minutes reflect that I have never met anybody more excited about sanitary sewer equipment and the distinctive than you, so thank you.
I'll enjoy reading that. Treasurer LaFotta.
I think it would be very advantageous if we, purchase this piece of equipment to establish a continual maintenance program. Since all our lines supposedly are clear, since we spent about $800,000 over the last 2 years having them cleaned, that if we had a preventive maintenance program slated for, and we have all the manholes and everything else all documented where they're at, if we had a program, if we produced a program and followed that so that we don't have to have somebody come out and charge us for cleaning. In other words, I'm assuming that if we jetted, periodically, based on a maintenance plan, we would not require the use of Deutsch or anybody else in the future.
Well, the one challenge we will have with that is we do not have a TV we don't have a TV portion of it. We just have the cleaning of it. So we'll be able to see to make sure the pipes are safe like other companies do. So we have to contract that portion out so we can see the line. This will just be us cleaning it, not actually seeing with our own eyes of what's going on with that pipe. This is one half of that job. Because that's why it's sewer, TV, and cleaning. We're just doing the cleaning portion, not the TVing. Just to make sure that's clear to everybody.
Motion by Supervisor Akavetti, support by Clerk Berry, to approve a request by the Department of Public Works for the purchase of a 2012 VATCON sewer cleaning truck from the Clinton Township Water and Sewer Department for a cost of $80,000. Clerk Berry, please call the roll.
Supervisor Akavetti.
Aye.
Clerk Berry, aye. Trustee Anderson.
Aye.
Trustee Joseph.
Aye.
Trustee Vosberg.
Aye.
Treasurer LaFotta.
Aye.
Motion passes. 6H, thank you, Kevin. Approve a request by the Clerk's Department to adopt Resolution 2017-20 and to approve a request for a new Class C liquor license for Ciro's Restaurant located at 48400 Gratiot, Chesterfield Township, Michigan, 48051, Macomb County.
Mr. Supervisor, I'd like to make a motion to approve to adopt Resolution 2017-20 and approve a request for a new Class C liquor license for Ciro's Restaurant.
Support. No.
Motion by
All kind of support.
Clerk Berry, support by Trustee Anderson. Discussion? Clerk Berry, please call the roll.
Clerk Berry, aye. Trustee Anderson.
Aye.
Trustee Joseph.
Aye.
Trustee Vosberg.
Aye.
Treasurer LaFotta.
Aye.
Supervisor Akavetti.
Aye. Motion passes. 6I, approve a request by the Clerk's Department to adopt Resolution 2017-22 for a charitable gaming license for the Macomb Cougars basketball.
Move to approve.
Motion by Trustee Vosberg,
Support.
support by Clerk Berry. Discussion? Clerk Berry, please call the roll.
Trustee Vosberg.
Aye.
Clerk Berry, aye. Trustee Anderson.
Aye.
Trustee Joseph.
Aye.
Treasurer LaFotta.
Aye.
Supervisor Akavetti.
Aye. Motion passes. Approve a request by the Clerk's Department to consider a variance for a 40-foot by 100-foot tent for Wintergreen Tavern from October 6, 2017 through October 7, 2017 at 46777 Gresham. I'll make a motion to approve as stated.
Support.
Motion by Supervisor Akavetti, support by Trustee Vosberg. Discussion. Seeing none, Clerk Barry, please call the roll.
Supervisor Akavetti.
Aye.
Trustee Vosberg.
Aye.
Trustee Anderson.
Aye.
Trustee Joseph.
Right.
Treasurer LaFata.
Aye.
Clerk Barry, aye.
Motion passes. 6K has been removed. 6L, approve a request from the Treasurer's Department to adopt Resolution 2017-12, updating the current credit card use policy. Do I have a motion to approve as stated?
Motion to approve the request from the Treasurer's Department to adopt Resolution 2017-21, updating the current credit card use policy.
Motion by Clerk Barry. Support by Supervisor Akavetti. Treasurer LaFata. Oh,
I have a
Trustee.
Thank
Trustee
you. I have a
Joseph
question.
Vosberg.
What changed in this?
Pardon? There is a request to add a credit card. Currently, the fire department has one that is not legal, and there's requests from the clerk's department, the Parks and Recs department for additional credit cards. And they have, our resolution has to be updated to add them.
So the policy and procedures remains the same, you're just
All we're
adding
doing is,
additional use?
we're adding the additional department heads,
Thank you.
or departments.
I have had discussion with Treasurer LaFata on this. I think his package is lays it out pretty clearly. State law requires us to have a policy. This references it fantastically. He saw a problem that he solved in that those departments, Parks and Rec and Fire, I believe, Sewer and Water, better served having a credit card, easier to track for small transactions that come up from time to time. We commend you on the work you did on this. Clerk Barry.
I'd like to thank Treasurer LaFata as well. This is a long time coming. I think this will help streamline our operations, make us more efficient, and I want to thank you so much for bringing this forward. Excellent work.
Any further comment from the board? Motion by Clerk Barry, support by Supervisor Akavetti to approve a request from the Treasurer's Department to adopt Resolution 2017-12, updating the current credit card use policy. Clerk Barry, please call the roll.
Clerk Barry, aye. Supervisor Akavetti.
Aye.
Trustee Anderson.
Aye.
Trustee Joseph.
Aye.
Trustee Vosberg.
Aye.
Treasurer LaFata.
Aye.
Motion passes. There are no addendum tonight. So moving on to number 8, public comment. Come up, state your name, and we got about 5 minutes.
If I get my address wrong, it's because I just moved. Lou Nigro, and I'm now at 49149 Bayshore, still in Chesterfield Township. When I decided to move, I wanted to stay in Chesterfield because I enjoy these meetings so much. I had to go over to the police department on a minor matter, and I was surprised to see in their lobby a kiosk that will accept outdated prescriptions and stuff like that. Every day my wife has to have a shot, and disposing of the syringes was always an issue, but now I know exactly where to go. So thank you very much for providing that service, Chief. I've used it twice, I've only jammed it up once. Thank you.
Thank you, Lou. Any further public comment? Let's bring it up to the board. Trustee Joseph.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. Just wanted to point out, and I'm sure our Parks and Rec people will talked this up pretty good, but our art music festival this weekend is looking pretty good. I trust Clerk Berry will touch on that. Some incredible entertainment on tap, and we'll keep our fingers crossed for good weather. Great work by our police and fire departments today with a real tragedy over 21 in Jefferson area. I don't know the outcome, but I do know that our people were out there incredibly fast, and just an outstanding department that we have of first responders. So thanks to them, and nothing additional tonight. Thank you.
Trustee Anderson.
Thank you. 2 weeks from tonight, is Labor Day, so enjoy the remainder of the summer, and I know Ms. Berry will talk a little bit about what's going on at Brandenburg. Thank you.
Trustee Bosberg.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. Just wanted to remind people, save the date, September 16 and 17, that Chesterfield Historical Society will be hosting Heritage Days. And that's the one festival that's held in the historic village where we bring out all of the things that kids can do, grind corn, shell corn, make rope, all of those hands-on activities, especially designed for kids. We've had some of the people coming to some of our events thinking they could do that there, and we kept saying, no, wait till September. So September's just around the corner, September 16 and 17. Thank you.
Treasurer LaFata.
I'd like to thank the planning department for the ordinance updates. I think there's many more to come. Thank you.
Clerk Berry.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. Well, since everyone has mentioned the Art and Music Festival coming up this weekend, the 26th and 27th, I assume all the board members are going to be stopping by. Tremendous event. Looking forward to it very much. I'd like to thank the Parks and Rec Commission who is assisting with this. We also have a large committee of also township employees who are actually volunteering some of their time for this event. It's going to be a tremendous community-centered event with, as was mentioned, phenomenal entertainment. There are all types of family-friendly entertainment. Tremendous opportunities for the children on Saturday in the morning. We have Viper, our very own canine officer, as well as Paw Patrol that they're going to be able to meet, and some music education in the morning. Also, we have close to 60 art vendors that are going to be there for everyone to enjoy and peruse their wares as well. We are headlined Saturday night by Rockstar. They are one of the leading tribute bands in the Midwest. They're regularly booked, and they are coming in for just a fraction of what they normally charge because they are based here out of Chesterfield, and they are so in support of this event. So we're looking forward to that. On Sunday, you can enjoy a Beatles tribute band for those of you who love the Beatles. My husband, I'm sure, will be there. And then for those of you who are a little bit more of the harder rock variety, we have a Kiss tribute band to headline Sunday. So that'll be a lot of fun. There'll be face painters there to paint the kids' faces and all the Kiss characters and all that kind of thing. So just a lot of really great stuff. And I'd like to also thank the Anchor-based sports boosters who are going to be there to provide our food and beverages for us. A lot of tremendous assistance from our township team on that. So look forward to seeing everybody there. It is also very exciting for the board. We are launching our community enrichment program there at that time as well. Please stop by our booth and you can find out all about this tremendous, I'm using that word a lot tonight, I know, but it is really going to be phenomenal, and I hope everybody can come out to see what the board has planned for the next coming 6 months and the things, additional value-added programs that we are bringing to you. So a lot of exciting stuff on tap. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I'd like to commend our public safety team. We did have a trench collapse today in a private residence in the township. Both men have been evacuated and are now at the hospital, and I believe that that is going to have a very good outcome in a very bad situation. Also, the eclipse viewing today at Brandenburg Park was fantastic, and our public safety folks were out there managing traffic along with the air show this weekend. The weather was amazing, and that team just does a really good job for us, and I wanted to make sure I pointed them out. Move on to item number 10, closed session, which is for strategy and negotiation session connected to the negotiation of collective bargaining agreements pursuant to Section 8C of the Open Meetings Act.
Mr. Supervisor, I'd like to make a motion to enter into closed session.
Motion by Clerk Barry, support by Trustee Anderson to enter into closed session at 7:49 PM. Clerk Barry, please call the roll.
Clerk Barry, aye. Trustee Anderson.
Aye.
Trustee Joseph.
Aye.
Trustee Vosberg.
Aye.
Treasurer LaFata.
Aye.
Supervisor Akavetti.
Aye. We are in closed session at 8:49. Do I have a motion to re-enter open session?
Mr. Supervisor, I'd like to make a motion to re-enter open session at 9 o'clock.
Support?
Motion by Clerk Barry, support by Trustee Joseph to re-enter open session at 9 o'clock. Clerk Barry, please call the roll.
Clerk Barry, aye. Trustee Joseph.
Aye.
Trustee Anderson.
Aye.
Trustee Vosberg.
Aye.
Treasurer LaFata.
Aye.
Supervisor Akavetti.
Aye. We are back in open session. Item number 11 is adjournment. I'll make a motion to adjourn at 9:01 PM.
Support?
Motion by Supervisor Akavetti, support by Trustee Vosberg. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? We are adjourned.